So a few days ago, I made a video about beauty privilege and I got a lot of interesting feedback. And a lot of it was very positive. I think a lot of people felt like, I was talking about something that they could never articulate. And, that's awesome to know that someone, not only do they understand where you're coming from, but now you kind of given them an understanding and it's kind of like a piece of a larger puzzle that they can kind of use to kind of, navigate through more issues. Because, as I've said before, since I started, on Tumblr and, basically like just being like really online and actually like absorbing things, because I think for a long time, until I learned about StumbleUpon, I was really just using like your basic social networks, I wasn't really having fun online. I was just like trying to connect and playing games. And the thing is, like, we're complex, we want to learn. We want to learn. Even when we're not in school, especially when we're not in school, I feel like people get kind of down because they don't have any formal education after schooling, and like, we have a need to learn. Even people who don't do very well in school, you want to learn something, you have a craving to learn something. It might not be, some standard education, but you have a need. Everyone has a need to want to know more, or maybe want to learn different things, have different experiences. And I know for myself, like I said, when I found Tumblr, I got on Tumblr, funny, I got on Tumblr trying to start a weight loss blog. And like, if you go to the beginning of my blog, you'll see like there are postings about weight loss and things like that. And I promised myself that I would never remove them because I kind of just want to always remember, where I was, when I really started to really care about myself. I was going to a gym, I was going to a gym and I just did not feel good. I was losing weight. I did not feel good. I always felt like it's not enough, and it became like a crazy obsession in my mind that really like it took over me. And I feel like every time I get, myself into some sort of idea of, bettering myself, it always involves losing weight. And I remind myself, no, like, stop, skirt my girl. Because, I don't know, for some people, they might agree with me, they might understand where I'm coming from. Some people might not, and that's okay. I think, we forget that when we're talking about our experiences and our opinions, we're being honest, we're talking about ourselves. If you don't like it, that's unfortunate, That's unfortunate that you can't understand someone just not trying to reinforce what they believe, but just basically talking about what they believe. So, or not even believe, talking about their experiences. If someone talking about their experiences bothers you, question that shit. Because that's fucked up. I would hope that, vice versa, if you're talking about your experiences, you wouldn't expect or want me to, just not give a fuck or try to invalidate your feelings. That would be crazy. So I try not to do that to other people because I don't want that to be done to me. But as I was saying about the weight loss thing, every time I get myself in a thought of losing weight, it's a madness. It's a mania in my head, and it's not good. It's really, really bad, actually. And, no amount of good or healthy food is going to change anyone's opinions about me. You know what I mean? Like, I could come up here and eat a fucking salad in front of you, and there's still going to be stigmas against me just basically because of what people see and what people have been programmed to react to when they see fat. And, like, there's very little I can do about that. But as far as myself, I can unlearn the problematic behaviors, I can unlearn the shame, and I can also tell people about how I unlearned my shame, how I was able to embrace my fatness, how I was able to embrace my blackness. That's a big thing too. Because for a long time when I was wearing weaves, I still wear weave, I still wear wigs, and it's like, people try to make me feel bad, and then people will reinforce that blackness is weaves, and that's problematic too. It's like, just because I'm wearing a weave, it does not make me any less or more black than anyone else. Blackness is not about the artificial. It is, unfortunately, this shit is a symptom of a bigger issue. Ask yourself why there are wigs. Ask yourself why, you know, certain types and certain styles, you know, are more expensive than others. You know, ask yourself why different grades, you know, different textures are more expensive than others. Really look at it like that, you know, instead of looking at, you know, black people and trying to condemn them for shit that has come off of other shit, you know? It's like people fail to see that before white people colonized America, there was history. But we don't start with that. You know, and there are a lot of people in America today who have Native American ancestry and ancestors that were here, that were in America, and that history is never spoken about. So there's a whole bunch of people missing legacies. There's a whole bunch of people who came here as cattle. You know what I mean? They came here as property, and a whole legacy gone. In just one boat ride and one motherfucking passage, legacies left behind. And then you have to think about how after slavery, there was peonage. How people of color were just picked the fuck up and tied to carts and shit and still treated like property despite laws. So it kind of gets you thinking, oh, well, laws don't mean shit if you're not white. If you're a black person or a person of color committing a crime, it's actually a motherfucking crime. You know what I mean? Like whereas, you know, I'm not saying all white, and that's another thing. White people, how come when we say white people, y'all get so mad? It's white people. We can't name all of y'all. We can't name all of y'all. It's a lot of y'all. That's why we say white people. You feel me? It's a lot of y'all reinforcing and upholding the motherfucking system that's racist as shit. And that's why we say white people, because we can't signify on one of y'all as too fucking many. But when white people get mad about that and they say, well, what if we generalize black people? Y'all do! Stop! Stop with the what if. Stop with the hypothetical. Y'all love to pretend like y'all could come up with a scenario that would have us stop. Black people are characterized as villains, as anti-American, as not American, as African American, despite the fact that African legacy in us and black people in America, as black Americans, we do not have a link to Africa. So when a nigga tells us go back to Africa, what you're saying is, what you're reinforcing is we don't belong here. We never will belong here. We never will belong. But this isn't a part two. This is just me going off about some of the feedback that I got. Another thing somebody said was, you know, another person said, I feel so helpless, like, what do I do? And that's the thing, you know, you don't have to feel like you have to do anything. That's a big thing about oppression. When you're being oppressed, you know, I know you feel a call to action. I know you feel like, well, how am I going to stop it? You know, you get into your Power Ranger mode, but you want to punch this shit out of racism. You want to flick the fuck out of sexism. You want to claw the eyes out of misogyny. You know what I mean? Like, you want to do all these things. You want to be a superhero. You want to be a soul survivor. I see you, boo. I really do. And the thing is, part of the solution is talking about it. You know, that's a big ass part. Because as long as people on the other side of the oppression, the oppressors, as long as they don't recognize themselves as oppressors and try to modify their behavior and the behaviors of others in their group, it's like we're yelling for nothing. So a lot of people will say, oh, well, you know, you crazy SJers. When a lot of people are not trying to be no motherfucking SJer. A lot of people ain't here for the labels. We're talking about our real experiences, and we're just trying to dap up the people who see us and who recognize and who understand. For as many white people that unfollow me and call me a racist for talking about racism, there's mad white people out here that are like, we see you. And that's refreshing. That's refreshing because when you go into, you know, beauty privilege, when you go into racism and white supremacy, when you go into all these hot button issues that are very one-sided, that are very white, that are very, you know, very hated amongst white people, because why the fuck, there's so many people who don't talk about this shit. White people just skating by. So many people of color just don't be clocking racism when it happens, so that when we do clock it, when we are angry because not enough of us are clocking it, it comes off as like maddened and crazed. And it's like, fuck it, bitch, I'll be crazy for you. If you need to call me crazy, you know, for you to stomach what the fuck I'm saying, I just need you to hear me. And when white people ask me what they can do to be allies, you know, I I just wish that, you know, when you saw a person of color, just think for next time. When you see a person of color talking about their experience and someone is against them and being ignorant, even people of that race, and that's another thing I want to clock on. Yo, when I did my Django Unchained video, notice I barely talked about the movie because the movie was a fucking, it was just depressing and whack to me. I didn't really have, you know, too much to fucking say other than what I felt was necessary to say. Notice that. I had necessary shit to get out about people of color issues and invisibility in media. I'm not gonna sit here and give Quentin Tarantino a motherfucking review, bitch. Hell no. If you're black, you can be upholding a white supremacy. It doesn't make you a racist. Not at all. It doesn't make you a racist at all. It makes you upholding of racism. You know, as a fat woman, I feel like people don't want me to talk anyway. And the fact that I'm loud, I have a deep voice, I swear a lot. And the fact that I genuinely don't give a fuck, that bothers people. And every day I'm surprised by who I bother and how I bother people. But, I can't worry about that shit. I can't worry. I really can't worry about that shit. Because I'm going to have to do me. I already know that about myself. I've been through too much. Like, really, I've been through so much fucking shit. Really. To have to, you know, try to get somebody to like me or get somebody to understand my issues. But I do try. And I think that's what sucks. Is like, I do try to educate, even though I don't have to, even though it's not my fucking job. I do. But here's the fucking tea. If somebody of color, someone of an oppressed group, you know, like a woman, like a trans person, maybe like a disabled person, and someone like that, if they're talking, shut the fuck up. Listen. Don't respond. Listen. Just fucking listen. And just take that shit in. I'll tell you so much. Like, I've learned so much from just shutting the fuck up and listening to oppressed groups of people. And I'm in so many of them that it's like, you know, it's like church to me. So it's like I was saying before, you know, like me saying something might spark someone else to get something that, you know, or to get on the path of learning something that I don't even know. And then maybe they teach me, you know, so that's where I'm at with the shit. Like, I just think it's really such a great time to be alive, to have this technology, to have this sense of community. Because I was thinking the other day about my blog. I was like, Marshmallow.com, like, you know, it is such a crazy place. And it is. But it's a crazy place because I can just be myself, and I can just talk about things that interest me, and I can find people that are interested in those things as well, and can, you know, give me tips, you know, like there are times where I'll post stuff, and someone's like, oh, thank you, girl, like, thank you for this, or someone hit me up and tell me about some shit that's really interesting and provide me with something, you know, like, it's just really bomb how that's all working out, and I just really appreciate that. And also, I really, like, this tarot thing is so bomb. Like, I really just I love it. It's like, it's a passion to me. I've been bugging about money, and like, like I was saying about the tarot thing's been picking up. Like, people have been like paying for readings, and that's amazing. And again, if I haven't done a free reading on you, please just get in touch with me. I try to be online after 3 o'clock. So if I'm online after 3 o'clock, you see me online, shoot me a message, and I'll try to fit you in. Do not stop. Do not think that I'm trying to play you, because I'm really not. You know, I'm not the type to, like, get some coins and then act like, you know, I didn't fucking, you know, offer somebody a free reading. That is not me, bitch. So anyways, yeah, the readings have been going really good. I'm glad that you guys liked the last video I did with the questions. And a lot of people were like, the people that I read the questions for, they responded and they were telling me like, oh my god, you were spot on, da da. And I'm just like, see, I be bugging out because I be pulling cards and I'm just like, you know, I wonder like if what I see and what I feel that I should say is right. And I always question my gifts, and I don't know why, but I think it's just, you know, I just feel so undeserving a lot of times. And then it's like cold outside, so I'm not as active, so I'm just not getting my endorphins, and I'm just spending a lot of time inside putting on lotion so that, you know, I could be hydrated and stuff for the summer. But I'm 23, but see, I shouldn't say that. Don't do that to yourself. You know, when you're, like, I read this post once, and it was so good, and it was about how at every age you are, you still have all the other ages with you. So sometimes, even though you're really 25 or you're 30, you still have the 5-year-old inside of you that, like, needs your mom. And that's valid. That's, like, a real feeling, you know? Like, those feelings, like, you know what they are. You know, there's times where you just want someone to, like, just let you like lay on their lap and stroke your hair and like just, you know, tell you that everything's okay. Every age is just, you know, taking on a new feeling. You know, now that I'm 23, I have like this fucked up feeling that, you know, I'm getting older and like I'm never going to be okay or 100%, you know, just, you know, just doing okay. I'm just like really scared that like, you know, the lifestyle that I want is not real, or rather that like I'm just not organized enough. I don't know. I just like, I'm in a kind of a state of where like I just keep putting myself down and like getting really just not productive about anything and just being really just feeling like defeatist. Like I just can't do anything right, and it's so sad because I know that that's not true, but I just I'm having some low self-esteem recently. And it's like, it's just so much stuff going on. And I keep telling myself like, oh, when you get to Texas, you know, you'll feel good, like you'll wake up, and you'll wake up from like the winter's cold. And you know, I haven't even listened to Bright Eyes really this whole winter, which is a good thing. It's a step. You know, usually like around this time, that's where I'm like balls deep in some fucking Conor Oberst, man. But you know, it's Feist now, so it's a little lighter. But anyways, thank you for watching. I really love you guys, and I really appreciate you guys for watching these videos because they're very long and very personal. So yeah, but